Well, it's good to be back, and if you missed the last 4 uploads on the channel, I was in California recently at the NAMM Show, doing daily coverage on all the new gear that was released for 2024. And before we get into the more regular programming on this channel, I thought I'd do a quick top 5 things I saw at NAMM, because recently I've been seeing a couple of people talk about how, oh, NAMM was very disappointing and there was nothing there, but I think there was plenty of cool things to talk about, so I thought I'd just give you a top 5, and this isn't in any particular order either. This is just things that I thought was cool. Aristides. Aristides are a brand that have been on the cutting edge of guitar building since their inception, building guitars out of modern materials, in fact proprietary materials. And there's no wood on any of these guitars, but for 2024 they came out with a new innovation, a world first, a multi-scale Evertune bridge. If you're not very familiar with the Evertune, a very brief overview of it is that it keeps the guitar in tune perpetually. There is no way for the guitar to go out of tune with an Evertune bridge. Up until now, they've only been available for standard scale lengths. If you wanted a multi-scale guitar, you were out of luck, it wouldn't have an Evertune. But now it's finally possible, thanks to Aristides redesigning the Evertune to work with a multi-scale. And that's cool on its own, but what made it stand out to me and why it's on this list is their attitude towards it.
We've been wanting a multi-scale Evertune for years, and unfortunately Evertune couldn't do it, so we were like, but what if we do it ourselves? And they were hesitant at first, and when we promised them there wouldn't be any work on their end, because they're always busy with new developments, they're doing the bass and whatnot, they gave us the green light to develop it ourselves. And what we did, I'll pick one up real quickly. So what we did, we made a custom frame for the Evertune to make it slanted in our exact scale. We made some custom tooling for in the back to make it work for multi-scale, and we slightly adjust the string spacing to make it even better than a normal Evertune, is what we like to say. And yeah, it works like an absolute dream, and people have been all over it. Like, our clients are going mad, getting a lot of orders for them. We did the first prototype with Mike from Spirit Box, who did the testing for us, and yeah, he's in love with it too. Everyone is super excited, and hopefully Evertune, this gives them the push to make it themselves and offer it to other companies as well, so everyone can enjoy multi-scale Evertune. That would be amazing.
There would obviously be a lot of time and money spent developing this, and it would be natural to want to keep that to yourself, but they seem to want it to be available for everyone, other builders included, and that's just very cool. It's a nice attitude to have that improves things for everyone. It kind of reminds me of like Volvo, who invented the modern day seatbelt as we know it. They could have trademarked that and kept it to themselves, but they allowed everybody to use it, and it improved everything for everyone. So, because of that attitude from Aristides, they have to be on the top 5, not just because they innovate, but because that's just a cool way of doing things. MarconiLab. It's no secret that I like innovation when it comes to guitars. It keeps things interesting, exciting, and it can be very cool. And when I was walking through the boutique showcase at NAMM, I saw the MarconiLab EGO guitar, and it stood out to me as a guitar that was built on innovation. There's actually too many unique and exciting specs of these guitars for me to cover in just this brief overview, but all of the MarconiLab EGO guitars use their own hardware, and this allows for things that I've never seen on anything else before, and it just makes sense. For example, on the bridge, it's got a little level bubble, so that there's no guessing to whether the bridge is level when you're setting it up. It either is or it isn't. I can't believe that's not become a thing on every floating bridge ever made. That just seems like it makes so much sense.
And here we have the GMR3 pickups. This GMR is a coilless pickup. We developed this pickup. Since we don't have a coil, the frequency response is wide and flat, 20 Hz to 20,000.
Now, I get that the EGO guitars look a bit different, might not be to everyone's tastes, that's fair enough, and they're also very expensive. There's no denying that. But to be fair, if you compare them to a custom shop ESP or PRS private stock or any of that stuff, where those can be the same price or a lot more expensive, and then you factor in that the MarconiLab guitars have all their own hardware made specifically for those guitars, the price does start to make sense. Bad Cat. Now, so far I've been talking about innovation, and that might make this next selection seem a little bit unusual. It's a fuzz pedal, which probably doesn't sound very innovative. Bad Cat have released a number of new products for this year's NAMM. They released a new lunchbox head called the Rubicon, and that sounded really cool. I enjoyed playing that. But one of the things that didn't really make my daily NAMM coverage is they've got a new line of pedals coming out too.
We will have later this year coming a new pedal line, which won't be based off of the amps, but entirely new designs, and it contains a fuzz and an octave fuzz sort of thing. The special thing about that is the octave fuzz runs 3 octaves in parallel, basically. So a sub octave and a second harmonic octave and the first harmonic. And they all run in parallel and can be regulated individually. The fuzz, the internal fuzz in this pedal is based off of this fuzz, which was the first of the line I designed. And this fuzz goes into super heavy distortion, but cleans up entirely when you dial down the volume. It always stays tight. It's not supposed to sputter like many fuzzes do. I particularly wanted it to stay clean for even any sort of heavier guitar stuff. So that's actually sort of like a super passion project, which I wanted to do for a while, and now finally got to.
These pedals were so new, in fact, that they were all prototypes. They didn't have any markings on the enclosures, they didn't even have names yet. But the fuzz pedal that I tried was the best sounding fuzz I've ever played. See, I don't like fuzz pedals, naturally. They just don't fit the music that I play. I find that they tend to be very spluttery and very, like, kind of harsh and just not very usable for what I do. But this one was. I just loved how that sounded. It didn't have any of the negative connotations I associate with fuzzes. It was usable for me. And, well, when it does have a name, I would be very much interested in picking one up. Cream guitars. If you put on a jacket that makes you look good, you're going to feel good. And if you strap on a guitar that makes you look good, you're going to play good. That's the ethos of Cream guitars. Cream guitars, I fell in love with them when I saw them last NAMM. I'd never heard of them before, but they were just so showy. They looked how like the music should sound. I loved it. And what I loved even more was the designer's passion for his guitars. It's great hearing Louis talk. He's so passionate about the topics. And what's even more impressive than his passion or his guitars is his reflex speed.
So when you feel happier and more trust and confident, you make new music. You go to different places, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. Did you see my ninja movement?
The ZUTA Group. On the last day of NAMM, we stumbled across a small booth for a Swedish brand called ZUTA. They make boutique pedals and amplifiers. And on show was a new amplifier, a 120 watt, 3-unit rack mount amp. Now, it's not unusual to see rack mount preamps or rack mount power amps, but seeing both put together as a full amplifier in such a small unit, it was only 3 units high and was very shallow. Normally they're very deep. It was very cool to see, but more than that, it just sounded really good. Sometimes all you need is for it to sound really good, and I can assure you that it did, because on sound alone, that's why it's in the top 5. And then to add to that, I just love the aesthetic of it, the overall design. I love the quality feel. Like, even just pressing the buttons on the front of the amp felt good. It felt like a really quality product. It sounded like a really quality product, and I had never heard of it before. So without the NAMM Show, I don't think I would have heard of it. So that's my top 5. Again, there was no order to it. It was just 5 things I really liked, and there were plenty of other things. I could have packed out a top 10 video, really, but I just wanted it to be a little bit quicker than a top 10. But that's NAMM 2024. We're going to get to more regular scheduled programming on this channel. There's a pedal board video coming. There's some industry stuff coming. And you should subscribe if you want to see that. You should like the video if you liked it. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.